Today, I'm going to talk about respiratory system, the anatomy of respiratory system. Human respiratory system. The human respiratory system consists of nose, pharynx, throat, trachea, bronchi, and lungs. So, this is the respiratory system parts: the nose, pharynx, epiglottis, larynx, trachea, left primary bronchi, ribs, diaphragm, base of the lungs, aorta, vertebral column, hyoid bone, thyroid cartilage, right clavicle, right lung, vesical pleura, pleural cavity, inferior vena cava. All this together is considered as a respiratory system. So this respiratory system consists of two parts. It is divided structurally into two parts, that is upper respiratory system and a lower respiratory system. The upper respiratory system includes nose, nasal cavity, pharynx and associated structures. The lower respiratory system includes pharynx, trachea, bronchi and lungs. The conducting zone consists of series of interconnecting cavities and tubes both outside and within the lungs. This includes nose, nasal cavity, pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchi, bronchioles, and terminal bronchioles. Their function is to filter warm and moistened air and conduct it to the lungs. So they help. This is why it is called as the connecting zone, because it connects and filters the warm and moistened air to gives into the lungs. And next is the respiratory zone. It consists of the tubes, tissues, lungs where gas exchange occurs. This includes respiratory bronchioles, alveolar ducts, sacs, alveoli, gas exchange, and other things happens in this zone. And next, respiratory mucosa. It is an outer layer of pseudostratified ciliated columnar epithelial cells that secrete mucus, found in the nose, sinus, pharynx, larynx, and trachea. This is only present in these parts, and mucus can trap the containments. Cilia move mucus upwards towards the mouth. So this is respiratory mucosa. So this picture gives you a clear imagination of this mucus pharynx. So you can see here ciliated columnar epithelial cells, globular cells, stem cells, mucus layer, and lamina priora. Next, nose. It provides the entrance for the air, in which air is filtered by the airs inside the nostrils. It has two portions, that is, the external nares and the internal nares. The external nares, the opening to the empty exterior passage, and the interior nare is open towards the pharynx. So this is the two parts of the nose, that is external nares and internal nares. The external portion is surrounded by the framework of the bone cartilage covered with the skin lined with the mucous membrane. The internal portion is the large cavity in which is skull emerging with the external nose anteriorly and communicating with that the throat posteriorly. So anteriorly it communicates with the external nose and it communicates through the throat posteriorly. And next is the nasal cavity, the entrance of the respiratory system that divided into an external portion and an internal portion is called as the nasal cavity. The interior area of the nose, it is lined by the sticky mucous membrane and contains tiny surface hairs called cilia. It is divided medially by the nasal septum. Particles trapped in the mucus are carried to the pharynx by ciliary action. It is swallowed and carried to the stomach where gastric juices destroys any microorganisms in the mucus. So this is helpful for this destruction of microorganisms in the mucus because of the primary is the primary pharynx which is present by the ciliary action help for this activity. And then the anterior portion of the nasal cavity just inside the nostrils is called as the nasal vestibula. It is surrounded by the cartilage. The superior part of the nasal cavity is surrounded by the bone. The vertical partition, that is the nasal septum, divides the nasal cavity into right and left sides. The anterior portion of the nasal septum contains primarily an hymen cartilage. So, the nasal septum, it is divided into right and left sides. So, each has its own hyaline cartilage. And in this picture, you can see here that is inferior nasal collar, sinus in the stenotyphoid bone, nasopharyngeal tonsil, opening to an auditory tube, soft palate, nasopharynx, hard palate, maxilla, anterior nace, hyaline cartilage, nasal bone, and sinus in the frontal bone. And next, this is the other picture which shows the anterior lateral view of the external portion of the nose showing cartilaginous and a bony framework. You can see the bone supposed to the nose, that is the frontal nose, nasal nose, and the maxilla, and the dense fibrous which connects the adipose tissue. And this side, the cartilaginous framework, you can see the lateral nasal cartilages, septal cartilages, alar cartilages. And next is the paranasal sinus. Four bones of the skull contain paired air spaces called as nasal paranasal sinus, that is frontal, ethmoidal, sphenoidal, and axillary. So these are the four bones, that is frontal, ethmoidal, sphenoidal, and maxillary. This is the thing which had resonance to the voice, which communicates the nasal cavity by the ducts, and this is lined by the pseudostratified ciliated columnar epithelium. So this is the main function of this paranasal sinus. You can see the bones here, that is the frontal bone, ethmoidal bone, sphenoidal bone, and the maxillary bone. Next comes the pharynx. So pharynx is a funnel-shaped tube that measures about 13 centimeter long and starts at the internal nace and extends to the level of the cricoid cartilage, that is the most inferior cartilage of the larynx. So this larynx measures about 13 centimeter long, a long tube. The larynx just lies posterior to the nasal and the oral cavities, superior to the larynx and anterior to the cervical vertebra. It is common passage of the air and the food. So this pharynx is the only thing which helpful for the, that is to pass the air through the lungs and the food they enter into the throat. So this is the purpose of the larynx. You can see in this picture that is the larynx is the part which is extends towards the esophagus and the larynx. The wall is composed of the skeletal muscles and it is lined by the squamous epithelium. The muscles of the entire pharynx are attached in two layers. That is, one is outer circular layer and next one is the inner longitudinal layer. So the pharynx is covered by the two muscle layers. And the pharynx is divided into three regions, that is nasopharynx, oropharynx, and laryngopharynx. So nasopharynx is the uppermost portion, and oropharynx is the middle portion, and laryngopharynx is the last portion. So the anatomy of pharynx, you can see here the nasopharynx, oropharynx, and hypopharynx. Together it is called as the pharynx. And here is the nasal cavity and the oral cavity, and then the esophagus with the continuation of the esophagus and the trachea. This is the exact anatomy of the pharynx. And next is nasopharynx. What is nasopharynx? It is the superior most region of the pharynx where it is mainly formed or covered of pseudostratified ciliated columnar epithelium. You can see in this picture the exact nasopharynx. It is covered by the pseudostratified columnar epithelial cells. And next is the location, where it is located. It is located posteriorly to the nasal cavity, superior to the soft palate, and laterally it extends towards the nasopharynx, connect to the auditorial eustachian tubes which opens into the middle ear. And normally only air passes through this pharynx. And material from the oral cavity and the oral pharynx is typically blocked from entering the nasopharynx by the vulva of the soft palate, which elevates when swallow. When we swallow, this vulva only elevates it. Then the posterior nasopharynx wall also houses within single laryngeal tonsils, commonly called as adenoids. So this is the nasopharynx functions. And then you can see in this picture that is nasolaryngeal tunnel, where you can see the nasal septum, the tongue, the palate, soft palate, hard palate, esophagus, and the trachea. The other picture will tell you the complete anatomy, that is the Eustachian tubes, adenoids, soft palate, uvula, tonsil, epiglottis, esophagus, and the vocal cord. Then the front portion will give you the sinus, nasal cavity, hard palate, tongue, and the trachea. Trachea is also called as a white pipe. Next, here, this is the tonsils and the throat, relationship of the tonsils and the throat. You can see here the nasopharynx, soft palate, uvula, palatal tonsil, oropharynx, tongue, linguinal tonsil, and the laryngopharynx. And next, through the internal narthex, the nasopharynx receives air from the nasal cavity along with the passages of dust-laden mucus. The cilia in the nasopharynx is the move the mucus downwards towards the most inferior part of the larynx. The nasopharynx also exchanges small amount of air with the auditory tubes to equalize air pressure between the pharynx and the middle ear. Next is the oral pharynx. Oral pharynx is the middle laryngeal region immediately posterior to the oral cavity. It opens to the oral cavity via the archway called as the phasis. Can you see in this open mouth, that is which has an narrow archway, that is called as the phasis. So this is about the oropharynx. Next, boundaries, how it is situated. Superior edge of the soft palate and inferiorly the hyoid bone. Common respiratory and digestive pathway through which air is swallowed and food they drink and what they eat and everything passes through this only way. So it contains non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelial cells. The lymphatic organs provide the first line of defense against the injected or inhaled foreign materials. Two pairs of tonsils, the palatine tonsils and linguinal tonsils, are found in the oropharynx. So here in this picture you can see that is the other parts of the linguinal tonsil, palatine tonsil, and naryngopharynx, soft palate, and pharyngeal tonsil, that is the adenoid. Everything it can be seen in this picture. And next is the laryngopharynx. Laryngopharynx is otherwise called as hypopharynx. It is inferior, narrowed region to the pharynx and boundaries superior to the erthoid bone. Inferior end, it opens with the esophagus, that is the foot tube, posterior, and the larynx, that is the voice box, anteriorly, lined with the non-keratinized squamous epithelium, permits passage of both food and the air. And next, you can see the laryngopharynx here, which allows both the food and the air. So in the other picture, it is nasopharynx, oropharynx, hypopharynx, and pharynx, whereas the esophagus and the trachea is present, and then the oral cavity and the nasal cavity. Next is the lower respiratory tract. So this lower respiratory tract includes conducting airway and respiratory portions. It is composed of trachea, bronchial tree, lungs, alveolus, and alveoli. Alveoli is functioning unit of the lungs. Conducting airways, that is pharynx, trachea, bronchi, upper to terminal bronchs, and respiratory portion of the respiratory system, that is respiratory bronchioles, alveolar ducts, and the alveoli. These are the things present in the lower respiratory tract. And next is the larynx. So larynx is also called as the voice box. It is a short cylindrical airway, ends in the trachea. It measures about 5 centimeters long. How it is situated? It is situated superiorly. It attached to the hyoid bone and opens into laryngopharynx. Inferiorly trachea and posteriorly esophagus. This is the larynx. And then the position. It lies in the middle way of the neck, anterior to the esophagus and the through fourth, sixth cervical vertebra, that is C4 and C6. You can see in this picture the entire position of the pharynx. And next, it connects air into the lower respiratory tract. It produces sound. It is composed of a framework of 9 pieces of cartilage, that is, 3 individual pieces and 3 cartilages pair that are held in place by ligaments and muscles. Except from the that is epiglottis, all laryngeal cartilages are hyaline cartilages. So this is the function of the lower respiratory tract. The muscles of the larynx, extrinsic muscles and intrinsic muscles. The extrinsic muscles of the larynx connect the cartilages to other structures in the throat. The extrinsic muscles connect the cartilages to one another. Next, the cartilages of the larynx. 9 C rings of cartilages form the framework of larynx. That is, two unpaired, two paired. What are they? So, 3 unpaired cartilages are thyroid cartilage, cricoid cartilage, epiglottis. 3 paired cartilage are arytenoid, cuneiform, and coronicate cartilage. So here in this picture, you can see the anterior view and the posterior view. That is epiglottis, hyoid bone, thyroid membrane, epiglottis, leaf, stem, cornicate cartilage, thyroid cartilage, adenoid cartilage, cricoid ligament, cricoid cartilage, cricotracheal ligament, thyroid gland, parathyroid gland, and the tracheal cartilage. So this is the anterior view and this is the posterior view. And thyroid cartilage. So thyroid cartilage consists of 2 fused plates of hyaline cartilage that form the anterior wall of the larynx and gives it a triangular shape. So this thyroid cartilage is of triangular in shape. The ligament that connects the thyroid cartilage to the hyoid bone is called as the thyrohyoid membrane. Cricoid cartilage, the ring-shaped hyaline cartilage that forms the inferior wall of the larynx. Epiglottis, large leaf-shaped piece of the elastic cartilage that is covered with the epithelium, that is called as the epiglottis. So here also this is another picture which shows the ligaments of the cartilage, that is thyroid membrane, thyroid membrane, thyroid cartilage, cricothyroid muscles, cricoid cartilage and the trachea. Next, arytenoid cartilage or the triangular on the most hyaline cartilage placed at the posterior superior border of the cricoid cartilage. They form synovial joints with the cricoid cartilage and have a wide range of mobility. Cuneiform cartilage, it is a club-shaped elastic cartilage anterior to the coronicate cartilage, support the ocal folds and lateral aspects of the epiglottis. Next, the coronicate cartilage. It is an horn-shaped pieces of elastic cartilage are located at the top of the each arytenoid cartilage. Next is the epithelium of the larynx. The lining of the epithelium superior to the ocal cords is non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. The lining of the larynx inferior to the ocal folds are pseudostratified ciliated columnar epithelium. So it consists of ciliated columnar cells, globate cells, and the basal cells. The mucus produced by the globate cells helps to trap dust which is not removed in the upper passages. So this is the main purpose of this globate cells. Next is the ocal folds. Ocal folds. The mucous membrane of the larynx forms the 2 folds, that is, 2 pair of folds. A superior pair of folds are called as the ventricular folds or the false ocal cords. And other pair is called as the true pair, where that is the ocal cords. The space between the ventricular folds is known as the rima vestibule. Rima vestibule. This is the, you can see in this picture, the ocal cords, the base of the tongue, the epiglottis, the false ocal cord. So inner to that is the true ocal cord, and next inside that is the goitus, and then the inner lining of the trachea and the cornicate cartilage. So here you can easily identify the true ocal folds and the false ocal folds. And next, ocal folds contain elastic fibers and are responsible for ocal sounds, which are created when air is forced between these folds, causing them to vibrate from side to side. This action generates sound waves which can be formed into words by changing the shapes of larynx and oral cavity and by using tongue and the lips. That is the purpose of this vocal cords. Next is the glottis. So, that is the glottis is the triangular slit opening containing between the true vocal cords. Its closure helps to prevent food or liquid from entering the trachea. So you can see the anterior aspect and then the posterior diagram. So here in anterior, you can see the coitus is closed. In posterior, you can see it is open, where you can see the other parts, that is epicoitus, vocal cord, vestibular fold, and other it is root of the tongue, everything. So this is the coitus, the main thing. The blood supply to the larynx. The blood supply is supplied by the larynx by the superior and inferior laryngeal arteries and drained by the thyroid veins, which join the internal lingular that is jugular vein. A nerve supply to the pharynx. The parasympathetic nerve supply is form of the superior laryngeal and recurrent laryngeal nerves, which are the branches of the vagus nerve, and the sympathetic nerves are of the superior cervical ganglia, one on the eighth side of the larynx. So this is the blood supply and the nerve supply of the pharynx. Next is the epiglottis. Epiglottis is a large leaf-shaped piece of an elastic cartilage that is covered by the epithelium. The stem of the epiglottis is tapered inferior portion that is attached to the anterior rim of the thyroid cartilage and the hyoid bone. The broad superior leaf portion of the epiglottis is unattached and it is free to move up and down like a trapdoor, prevents food and water from entering the airway while swallowing. So this is about the, so it is a large leaf shaped piece which is called as the epiglottis. So the name itself gives you the meaning. The epiglottis, it is covered by the layer of the epithelium. And then parts of the larynx. So the parts are vocal cord, glottis, epiglottis, sub subglottis and supraglottis. This is the exact anatomy of the larynx. So in trachea, you can see the cartilage, that is thyroid cartilage, cricoid cartilage, and the tracheal cartilages with the extension of right lung and the left lung and the primary bronchiole. Trachea. So it is a flexible cylindrical tube. The size is 4 centimeter to 5 centimeter long and 1 in diameter. It is also called as the windpipe, lined by the ciliated pseudostratified columnar epithelium, extends through the mediastinum and lies anterior to the esophagus and the inferior to the larynx. Anterior and lateral walls of trachea supported by 15 to 20 C-shaped tracheal cartilage. Cartilage provide rigidity to the tracheal wall. Posterior part of the tube lined by the tragus mucus. Layers of the trachea. So the innermost layer is the mucosal layer. It is made up of the pseudostratified columnar with cilia and globate cells. The outer layer is also called as the submucosa, that is the loose connective tissue and the mucous glands. At the level of the sternal angle, the trachea divides into two smaller tubes. One is called as the right and the left. So, right primary bronchi and left primary bronchi. Each bronchus projects laterally towards each lung. The inferior tracheal cartilage separates the primary bronchi and forms an internal ridge called as the carina. You can see the primary bronchi, secondary bronchi, which is attached to the lung tissue. So above you can see the tracheal cartilages with the trachea, the root of the right lung, the root of the left lung, the primary bronchi, and the secondary bronchi. So here is the exact picture of the lung where the branching of the tracheal tree. Once the trachea is divided into primary bronchi, secondary bronchi, and then the tertiary bronchi, and then the bronchioles, and then the terminal bronchioles. So in center of that you can see a that is the cardiac notch. You can see the cardiac notch. You can see a cardiac notch. So you can see the left side and the right side, which is in turn attached to the diaphragm. What is the bronchial tree? It is the highly branched system of air conducting passage that originates from the right and left primary bronchi. Incomplete rings of hyaline cartilage support the walls of the primary bronchi to ensure they remain open. Right bronchus is shorter, wider, and more vertical than the left primary bronchus. The left lung has two secondary bronchi. The right lung has the three secondary bronchi. It further divided into tertiary bronchi. So you can see here in the bronchus, that is that is the other parts, anterior, lateral base, posterior base, medial base, lower lobes, and superior lobes. Everything is clearly visible in this picture. The primary bronchi supply each lung. Secondary bronchi supply each lobe of the lung, that is three right and two left. Tertiary bronchi slips into successive sets of the interglobular bronchi that supply each bronchopulmonary segment, that is right 10 and left 8. Bronchioles split into thermal bronchioles, and this split into respiratory bronchioles. Respiratory bronchioles split into multiple alveolar ducts with the end of the alveolar sac. And successive branching, which in turn increases the number of cartilages, decreases in number of smooth muscle, decreases with this airway diameter during excision, and also sympathetic and parasympathetic reaction, that is bronchodilation happens, and also bronchoconstriction. The epithelial cells gradually changes like stellated squamous epithelium, simple epithelium to the abdominal to the terminal bronchis. So you can see in this picture the blood flow, the primary artery, primary vein, terminal bronchioles, respiratory bronchioles, alveolus, smooth muscles, and intraglobbular bronchi. So next, lungs. The lungs contain smaller saccular outpocketing called as alveoli. They have a thin walled specified to promote diffusion of the gas between the alveolus and the blood in the pulmonary capillaries. Gas exchange can take place in the respiratory bronchioles and alveolar ducts as well as in the alveoli, that is, it ranges between 274 to 790 millions. The spongy nature of the lung is due to the packing of millions of alveoli together. Next is cells in alveolus. There are two types, that is type 1 and type 2. Type 1 is the alveolar cells, which is single squamous cells where the gas exchange occurs. Type 2 is the alveolar cells, that is the septal cells. Free surface has microvilli that secretes alveolar fluid containing surfactant. This surfactant reduces the surface tension. Hydraulic region and the hydrophobic region. Alveolar duct cells. Wandering macrophages remove debris. So you can see the picture, that is alveolar fluid lining, alveolar macrophage, alveolus, pulmonary capillary, erythrocyte, type 1 alveolar cell and type 2 alveolar cell. Next, the interstitial fluids are present. Anatomy of the lungs. Lung accompanies most of the space between the thoracic cavity. It has a conical shape. Toward the midline, the lungs are separated from each other by mediastinum, and it is called as the mediastitial surface. The medial aspect of each lung and the site of the entrance or exit is called as the helium of the lung. The structures that connects to the lung to the mediastinum are called as the root of the lung. It includes bronchus, right and left, bronchial vessels, pulmonary arteries, pulmonary venous fluxes, bronchopulmonary lymph nodes, and lymphatics. This is the costal and mediastinal surfaces of the lungs. You can see in this picture. And here this picture explains you about the right lung and the left lung. Here is the pulmonary ligament, and this is the roof, and this is the bronchus. And pulmonary artery, they have the pulmonary vein. Pulmonary artery carries deoxygenated blood. Pulmonary vein contains oxygenated blood, and others are present. This is called as the helium. Next is the costal surface of the lung. The relatively broad, round surface is coated with the thoracic wall. It is called as the costal surfaces of the lung. The lungs extend laterally from the heart to the ribs on the both sides the chest and continue posteriorly towards the spine. The superior end of the lung entering the point of the cone and the inferior end forming the base. The superior end of the lung narrows to the round tip known as the apex. The apex projects superiorly to the point that is slightly superior and posterior to the clavicle. The inferior end of the lung is also called as the base. Left lung. Left lung is divided into two lobes by the oblique fissure. Smaller than the left lung is smaller than the right lung. Cardiac notch accompanies the heart. The weight of the left lung is 550 grams, and right lung it is divided into three lobes that is oblique horizontal fissure. Located more superiorly in the body due to the liver on the right side. Weight of it is 6600 grams. So you can see the parts of the lung, that is the apex, superior lobe, oblique fissure, horizontal fissure, middle lobe, inferior lobe, and here the cardiac notch. Other things are present in this anterior surface of the lung. So what are the contents present in the lungs, the right lung and the left lung? So superior lobe, it has one apical segment, posterior segment and anterior segment. Middle lobe, it has a lateral segment. Inferior, it has a medial, superior segment, medial basal ligament, anterior basal ligament, lateral basal ligament, posterior basal ligament. On the left leg, it has the apico-posterior segment, anterior segment, lingualia or superior lobe, inferior lingualar segment, superior ligament, inferior supraligament, antomedial base ligament, posterior basal ligament, and lateral basal ligaments. So here is the right bronchopulmonary segment, the costal surface and the medial surface. What things we have seen in the previous slide is the explanation of this slide. And here the costal surface and the medial surface. And pleura and pleural cavity. The rib cage is separated from the lung by two layered membranes. Coating is called as the pleura. The potential space between the serous membrane layers is the pleural cavity. The pleural membranes produce a thin, serous pleural fluid that circulates in the pleural cavity and acts as a lubricant, ensuring minimal friction during breathing. And this is the chest wall. You can see here this is the lung which produces pleural sac, and then the visceral pleura, the diaphragm and the chest wall. This is the pleural cavity. The outer surface of each lung and the adjacent internal thoracic wall are placed by the serous membranes called as pleura. The outer surfaces of each lung is tightly covered by the visceral pleura, while the internal thoracic wall, the lateral surface of the mediastinum, and the superior surfaces of the diaphragm are lined by the parietal pleura. The partial and the visceral pleural layers are continuous and at the hilum of the each lung. Next is the blood supply to the lungs. Pulmonary circulation supplies deoxygenated blood supply to the right ventricle and carries by the pulmonary arteries. When the blood passes through the capillaries, the alveoli becomes oxygenated. Bronchial circulation supplies oxygenated blood pumped into the wet ventricle and it is carried by the bronchial arteries. The circulation is otherwise called as systematic circulation. The bronchial arteries supply blood to the bronchi and connective tissues of the lungs. They travel and they branch into the bronchi, ending about the level of the respiratory alveoli. They are anastomosed with the branches of the pulmonary arteries. The pulmonary arteries, the bronchial arteries supply nutrition to the lungs. So they carry this main blood supply of the lungs. They carry deoxygenated blood and the oxygenated blood. So pulmonary circulation is of deoxygenated blood, bronchial circulation is of oxygenated blood. And this is the that is the blood supply to the lungs. That is here is the superior vena cava, capillaries, pulmonary vein, right atrium, right lung and the left lung. Where is the inferior vena cava, right ventricle, left atrium and the pulmonary artery. So here you can see the right clavicle, that is the x-ray examination. When you see in this picture, it gives you the clear picture, that is A is the right clavicle, B is the right scapula, and C is the right fourth anterior rib, and D is the right eighth rib, and E is the right costopheric angle, and F is the left lung apex, and G is the aortic arch, and H is the helium, and I is the heart, and J is the left lung base, and K is the right lung base. So this is the thing when you see in an X-ray, you can identify the parts of the lung. Next is the cross section, that is the other side. So here you can see the esophagus, B is the trachea, and C is the lung, and D is the heart ciliate, and E is the lung apex, and F is the scapula, and G is the thoracic vertebra, and H is the thoracic intravertebral foramen, and superimposed posterior ribs, and costopheric angles, and diaphragm, that is it shows in an yellow arrows. So, so this finishes our respiratory system. So hope you all understood my class. So coming to the summary, so far we have seen about the respiratory system, the complete explanation about the respiratory system, that is the upper respiratory system and the lower respiratory system. The upper respiratory system parts, the lower respiratory system, parts, and the complete description about the each parts, and then the blood